I cheated, moved on, and years later, karma showed me exactly what I lost.
I used to think that time could bury mistakes. That if you just kept moving forward fast enough, the past would eventually stop chasing you. I was wrong. Time doesn't erase anything. It just waits for the perfect moment to remind you of who you once were and what you chose to throw away. When I married my husband, he was the definition of steady. He was calm, patient, and had a loyalty so deep it felt like bedrock. He wasn't the loudest person in the room or the most flashy, but with him, life felt safe, secure. In the beginning, I admired that stability. It was a comfort. But as the years went by, I started to take it for granted. The comfort began to feel like boredom. I started craving excitement, the kind of thrill that comes from being the center of attention. I wanted admiration, the validation that comes from feeling desired by someone new. Instead of talking to my husband about how I felt, about the growing distance between us, I complained. Instead of looking inward and working on my own happiness, I blamed him for my dissatisfaction. Slowly, almost without noticing, I let myself turn cold. I'd built a wall around my heart and convinced myself he was the one who put it there. Then came the mistake that shattered everything. I met someone at work. He was charming, and he made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. He laughed at my jokes, he complimented how I looked, and most importantly, he listened to me complain about my marriage without ever questioning my role in its decline. It was the perfect echo chamber for my own justifications. I told myself it was just a harmless friendship. I told myself I deserved to feel happy, to feel that spark again. One small lie piled on top of another, and before I knew it, I had crossed a line that I could never, ever uncross. When my husband found out, he didn't react the way I expected. There was no screaming match, no throwing things, no desperate begging. He just went quiet. And that silence, that profound, deafening silence, was 1,000 times more terrifying than any explosion of anger could have been. He looked at me, his eyes filled with a pain I couldn't comprehend at the time, and he asked me one simple question: was I ever enough for you? I couldn't answer. The truth was, he had been more than enough. I was the one who was lacking. We divorced not long after. I thought freedom would feel exhilarating. I pictured this new, exciting life stretching out before me, but instead it just felt empty. The man I had left my husband for, the one who promised me excitement, he disappeared as soon as reality set in, as soon as things got complicated. My friends, the ones who knew us as a couple, drifted away. My family judged me not with loud words, but with quiet, disappointed looks. I kept telling myself I was fine, that I had made the right choice for me. But every night, I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I had managed to destroy something so solid, so real, for something so fragile and fleeting, years past. From a distance, through the grapevine of mutual friends and social media, I watched my ex-husband rebuild his life. He threw himself into his work, started traveling to places he'd always wanted to see, and slowly he grew into someone stronger, more confident. He seemed complete. I pretended I didn't care. I told myself it was for the best. Meanwhile, my own life felt stalled. My relationships were a revolving door of disappointment. I couldn't trust anyone, and no one could ever seem to fully trust me. Karma didn't strike me down with a lightning bolt. It was much more subtle. It crept into my life through the quiet ache of loneliness and the heavy weight of regret. Then one day, fate, or maybe just coincidence, put us in the same room again. It was at a mutual friend's wedding anniversary. I almost didn't go. The thought of seeing him filled me with a paralyzing mix of dread and shame. But something inside me knew I had to go. I needed to face the past I had been running from for so long. When I saw him across the room, my breath caught in my throat. He looked different. He wasn't bitter or broken. He was peaceful. He radiated a calm confidence that was entirely new. He saw me and he smiled. It was a polite, distant smile. The kind you give to an old acquaintance, someone you once knew but no longer need in your life. We ended up talking for a few minutes. It was all surface-level stuff. How's work? How's your family? There were no accusations, no digs, no painful nostalgia. And somehow, that polite distance hurt more than any confrontation ever could. It was a clear sign that I was no longer a significant part of his world. Later that night, I gathered every ounce of courage I had and asked him if we could talk privately for a moment. I wasn't looking for forgiveness. I think I just needed closure for my own sake. We stepped outside, and I finally apologized. Not one of those shallow, self-serving apologies people give to ease their own conscience. It was a real one, the kind that comes from years of reflection, from finally, truly understanding the depth of the damage you caused. I told him how much I regretted my choices, how I wished I had fought for our marriage instead of looking for an easy escape. He listened patiently without interrupting. When I was finished, he told me something that completely rewired my understanding of everything. He said that after our divorce, he had gone through hell. He was consumed by self-doubt and depression. He spent countless nights questioning his own worth, wondering what he had done wrong. But instead of letting that pain destroy him, he used it as fuel. He went to therapy, which taught him about setting boundaries and recognizing his own value. The pain taught him self-respect. And my betrayal, he said, taught him that love without loyalty is completely meaningless. Then he said the words that hit me harder than any scream or insult ever could. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "I didn't get revenge, I got better." He told me he was married again, happy, genuinely happy. His wife, he said, respected him, supported his dreams, and never ever made him feel small or inadequate. He said he had forgiven me, not for my sake, but for his. He had to let go of the anger to find his own peace. And in that moment, I finally understood. Karma wasn't about punishment. It wasn't about losing your job or your health. Karma was about contrast. It was about being forced to watch the person you hurt become everything you failed to value, while you are left alone, facing the empty space your choices created. Before he walked away, he turned back and said one last thing. "Thank you," he said, "for teaching me what I will never tolerate in my life again." That was it. That was the moment I truly understood the magnitude of what I had lost. Karma didn't humiliate me publicly. It did something far more profound and far more painful. It gave me a crystal clear vision of the life I could have had, the love I could have cherished, and the incredible man I could have grown old with. And now, he's living that beautiful life. Without me, that realization doesn't just visit me now and then. It stays with me every single day. Because some mistakes don't destroy you in a fiery explosion. They wait.